Hello, boys. Want to unlock the secrets to winning every battle in EU4? In today's guide, we'll cover 5 essential strategies that every EU4 player needs to know. Army composition and stats, building the perfect mix of troops for every situation. Terrain, using the landscape to your advantage. Attrition, managing supply and avoiding unnecessary losses. Ticking war score, gaining the upper hand through strategic objectives. Tactical retreat and other tactics, knowing when to fall back and when to strike. If you're looking for something specific or already know some of this stuff, feel free to jump to the section you need. First up, let's dive into army composition and stats. In EU4, understanding combat width is crucial. Combat width determines how many regiments can engage in battle simultaneously. This number increases with your military technology, allowing more units to fight at once. For example, at early tech levels, your combat width might be 20, but as you advance, it can go up to 40 or more. When it comes to army composition, the goal is to fill your combat width with the right mix of troops. In the early game, a typical composition might include 20 infantry and 4 cavalry units to fill a combat width of 24. This ensures you maximize your frontline effectiveness while using cavalry for flanking maneuvers. As you unlock artillery at Military Tech 7, it's time to adjust your composition. Artillery should be placed in the back row, as they can fire over the heads of your frontline troops, adding significant firepower. At this stage, you might use 24 infantry, 4 cavalry, and 4 artillery, adjusting as your combat width increases. Flanking is an essential tactic where cavalry units on the sides of your army attack the enemy's flanks. This can be incredibly effective in causing high casualties and disrupting enemy formations. Maintaining a proper infantry to cavalry ratio is key. For most Western nations, the optimal ratio is around 4 to 6 cavalry per full combat width, depending on the current flanking range and your military technology. Exceeding this ratio can lead to insufficient support penalties, reducing your army's combat effectiveness. Different nations have unique strengths and traditions that affect their ideal compositions. For instance, horde nations like the Timurids excel with cavalry due to their bonuses. A horde composition could lean heavily on cavalry, with a setup like 20 cavalry and 10 infantry, taking advantage of high maneuver and shock damage. Pro tip: always keep an eye on your technology levels. An outdated army will get squashed like a bug under a boot. Upgrade those units and keep your tactics fresh. Remember, the right composition, tailored to your nation's strengths and the current tech level, can turn the tide of war in your favor. Next, let's talk terrain. Think of terrain as the hidden force multiplier. Fighting in mountains, forests, or across rivers can give you significant advantages or disadvantages. Defenders in hills, mountains, or forests get a defensive bonus, which can be a game changer in close battles. For example, fighting in mountains gives the defender a 2 penalty to the attacker's dice roll, while hills and forests give a 1 penalty. One of the best strategies is to lure your enemy into unfavorable terrain. Imagine drawing them into mountainous regions where your troops are entrenched, gaining the upper hand with those defensive bonuses. Alternatively, you can position your forces to take advantage of rivers, making it harder for enemies to cross without facing significant penalties. In EU4, tactical positioning is everything. By understanding and utilizing terrain effectively, you can maximize your army's efficiency and minimize unnecessary losses. So, next time you're planning a big battle, take a good look at the terrain and plan your moves accordingly. Pro tip: always scout the terrain before committing to an engagement. Knowing the lay of the land can give you the edge you need to secure victory. And remember, it's not just about winning battles, it's about winning them smartly. Now, on to attrition. Imagine this. Your massive army is marching through enemy territory, but wait, you're losing men left and right. Why? Attrition. High attrition can bleed your forces dry before you even reach the battlefield. Attrition occurs when your army exceeds the supply limit of a province, suffers from harsh climates, or gets stuck in a prolonged siege. To manage attrition, always be mindful of the supply limit in each province. This is the maximum number of troops that can be sustained without suffering losses. For instance, a province with a supply limit of 20 can only support 20,000 troops. Any more, and you'll start losing soldiers to attrition. Another key factor is the terrain and climate. Desert, jungle, and Arctic terrains have lower supply limits and higher attrition rates. Additionally, being in enemy territory generally increases attrition, especially during winter months in colder climates. Therefore, plan your movements carefully to avoid unnecessary losses. Here's a golden nugget. Use attrition to your advantage. Lead enemy forces through harsh terrain and watch as their numbers dwindle. Position your troops strategically to force the enemy into low-supply provinces, effectively weakening them before the main engagement. Pro tip: utilize supply depots to mitigate attrition. Supply depots can be built in your own or allied provinces and significantly increase the local supply limit, making it easier to sustain large armies during extended campaigns. Additionally, leaders with high maneuver pips reduce the supply weight of your armies, further helping to manage attrition. Ever notice that little ticking score in the corner during wars? That's the war score, and it's your best friend. Ticking war score is a mechanic that gradually increases your war score over time if you control the war goal. This can make a huge difference in winning wars without needing to occupy every enemy province. When you declare war, you set a war goal based on your casus belli. If you successfully occupy and hold this war goal, your war score will incrementally increase each month, up to a maximum of 25 points. This ticking war score continues to accumulate as long as you control the objective, making it a crucial part of long-term strategy. Ticking war score is especially useful if you can't fully occupy your enemy due to geographical limitations or a strong defensive position. For example, if your enemy has a powerful navy and you can't reach all their provinces, holding the war goal will still allow you to gain enough war score to negotiate favorable peace terms. This also means it's critical to defend your war goal. If the enemy recaptures it, the ticking war score will reset, losing all progress. So, always keep a strong force near your war goal to fend off any attempts to reclaim it. Pro tip: plan your wars around achievable objectives. Selecting a nearby, easily defensible province as your war goal can ensure you maintain control and steadily build up your war score. This way, you can secure victories without prolonged, exhausting conflicts. Finally, let's discuss tactical retreat and other crucial battle tactics. In EU4, knowing when to retreat can save your army from annihilation and give you a chance to regroup and counterattack. A tactical retreat involves pulling back your troops before they are completely defeated, preserving manpower and morale for future engagements. When your army is losing a battle, you can manually order a retreat by selecting the army and choosing a nearby province to fall back to. This can be particularly useful if you're fighting in unfavorable terrain or facing a larger force. Retreating to a province with better defensive terrain or one with a friendly fort can give you a strategic advantage for the next engagement. Tactical retreats aren't just about running away. They can be part of a larger strategy to draw the enemy into a trap. For example, you can lure enemy forces into mountains or forests where they suffer from terrain penalties and attrition, then strike back with a reinforced army. Other important tactics include flanking and using the back row effectively. Position your cavalry on the flanks to take advantage of flanking bonuses, which increase their combat effectiveness by allowing them to attack the sides of enemy formations. Meanwhile, place your artillery in the back row, where they can provide powerful support without taking direct hits. Selecting the right combat tactics based on your army composition and the enemy's setup is also crucial. For example, shock tactics are more effective early in the game when cavalry and infantry units rely heavily on shock damage. As the game progresses and firepower becomes more significant, switching to fire tactics can maximize your artillery's effectiveness. Pro tip: adapt your tactics to the situation at hand. If you're outnumbered, consider a defensive strategy using terrain and fortifications to your advantage. If you're on the offensive, Aggressive tactics and rapid maneuvers can overwhelm your enemy before they have a chance to respond. And there you have it, the top 5 war strategies in EU4 that will help you dominate the battlefield. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more epic historical gaming content.